up, guys? Start of a new month, September. We had a decently slow August, but we were profitable. Today had some crazy move down during pre-market, and so the first thing I went ahead and did is I downsized my position sizing. I went from 6 micros to 4 micros, still risking the same amount dollar-wise, but different amount in terms of how many ticks or how many points I'm risking. Just because we've got some crazy big 5-minute candles. I mean, it would just be very, very unsmart of me to keep the same stop loss size when we're not used to dealing with this big spread of candles. The other thing that we have is 7 a.m. news. It's currently 6:54, so we're waiting for that 7 a.m. news to play out. So far, I like the reaction in terms of bullishness. I do want to just wait for this news to play out, see what it does, and then we'll decide if we're gonna take longs or shorts today. But it does look like it is a case of catching the falling knife, where the falling knife basically didn't go any lower than pre-market, and we had a lot of buyers come in and buy that shit up. So yeah, you know, we've got some crazy big candles right now. So of course, like I said, that's going to mean that our stop loss is going to have to be bigger. So in order to risk the same amount, we have to, our stop loss and our TP is going to be bigger. So we're going to have to decrease our position size first. And but we are still going to wait for news to play out. 7 a.m. news is about to drop in 5 minutes. We're going to wait for that candle to play out. It's been a little bit hard for me, I'm not going to lie, just because like there is a lot of FOMO just watching these giant green candles just absolutely rip through levels. But, you know, in the long run, it's better 100% to wait for these, the news to play out. So, yeah, guys, all that being said, I'm going to catch on a little bit. I'll let you guys know what trade I'm taking. And, yeah, hopefully we can start the month off strong. Alright, guys, so, yeah, we ended up getting pretty cooked, I'm not going to lie. Ended up taking a loss. And not even a good trade on that. So, this is, you guys can see this is what ended up happening. So, I saw that we, for whatever reason, moved down very aggressively pre-market. We stabilized up at this demand zone here, kind of chopped between these two zones, but eventually, like, with a lot of aggression, we broke out of this zone. Waited for 7 a.m. news to happen, and unfortunately, that was the peak of longs. I kind of just entered in the middle of this range. Obviously, stop loss placement was horrendous. It wouldn't even matter regardless, though, because we ended up moving down anyways, but still, this is just not a good trade, man. I entered my longs after the 7 a.m. news. I saw this candle start to move down. I saw it start to push back up. I thought that, I kind of, for whatever reason, I expected a day today where buyers would just buy every dip, and we would just sort of, for some reason, I thought that we were going to just start launching back up, breaking through all these levels, start heading back towards highs, but that is not what happened at all. I was completely wrong about that one, you know, and, I don't know why I took this trade, honestly. Like, the more and more I look at it, it's just not really in the strategy. The higher time frames didn't really align, you know. Obviously, if I want to take longs off this level here, I'm going to wait for that retest. And, yeah, I got stopped out literally to the tick on this fat green candle. But then it ended up moving down anyways. And I did actually end up on my Combine re-entering on E-mini, or one E-mini, with one E-mini anyways, on my Combine. I ended up re-entering off of that green candle. We were up at 1-1, but then I got that break even after it just failed to break above all these wicks, man. My entry, you guys can see, if I go back, my original entry was literally just pure resistance. I mean, we tried so many times to freaking break. Well, you can see we just had so many wicks and just could not break that news high, or even that body, the body of that news candle. You know, that was where the resistance started. But yeah, you know, like I said, the trade would be whenever we retested this zone and aggressively took out this candle here, and that's where I re-entered in off of on my Combines. But it's still ended up taking break even on that, because it just, yeah, I wanted to move my stops break even. After we failed to break through all these wicks for like the 50th time, I was just like, yeah, bro, it's not looking good. I just kind of accepted that I was wrong. And, you know, of course, now at 12:20 p.m., so we have like 40 more minutes left. Now it looks like we're going to make that move up, but there just weren't enough buyers here, you know. I thought for whatever reason that the open was very aggressive buying. I thought that that would continue for most of the day, and I was completely wrong. I mean, we were just wrong today, you know what I mean? And it seems to me like the beginning of the freaking weeks, bro, are,
look at last month. Every single Monday, the beginning of every single trading week, I lost. And then even here, I didn't trade Monday. Beginning of the trading week for me was Tuesday. I freaking lost. And then just bang, every single day after that is pretty solid. But look at last month and see how long that trend has been actually. So even, let's see, it's been since the 21st of July is the last time that I won on the beginning of a week. That's kind of wild. Maybe I need to stop trading. Maybe I just need to take the first day of the week, and it's so funny how things change around because I know that in the for a while Mondays were like my best days and Fridays were like my worst days. But now we look here, it's the complete opposite. I mean, Mondays I'm cooked. Fridays I'm actually banking. So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe we'll either be more patient on the beginning of the week or maybe just not even trade at all. I don't know. Maybe we trade PM sesh or something after we have like all the information and stuff because yeah, I don't think that the open was crazy devious, you know. There's definitely like setups, but you know, we had that 7 a.m. news I wanted to watch out for. And we have 7 a.m. news every single day this week except for Friday. So that's gonna I'm just looking at this, you know, I tried to get in right after that news and I got into a bunch of chop, you know what I mean? So I gotta really kind of figure that out. If trading after news is gonna be a problem or not, you know. But I don't really think there's much else for me to go over in terms of like this recap, to be honest. Just because like, you know, it was a bad trade. Like, let's be real, this is a bad trade, you know. I slipped up today. I got a little bit of FOMO. I really thought that we were just going to push higher for the majority of the day, and that's just simply not what happened. I was completely wrong about that one. And it did slow, so we need to move down significantly more before we ended up moving higher, you know. And, you know, it is what it is. That doesn't mean that I had to take this garbage trade that doesn't really align with my strategy, you know, like the higher time frame weren't aligned. I never got into that retest of the zone. I just entered because, like I said, this was a very aggressive push-up. I thought that buyers were going to be buying up every dip, and I was completely wrong about that. So, yeah, not much else for me to say about this. I'm going to go ahead and catch you on the next clip, though. Take some lessons away from today because, yeah, this wasn't a good trading day for me, you know what I mean? Like, it really wasn't a good trade at all. Even if I had won this trade, I would still be saying the same thing. And that's what I was thinking the whole time I was in the trade. I was like, yeah, bro, this is not a setup that I'm really proud of. It's barely even a setup at all, you know. So yeah, you know, we'll catch you in the next clip. Figure out what I can learn from this.
So yeah, guys, obviously a pretty upsetting day. You know what I mean? It's always fine to take a loss, but like this was just pretty nonsense loss, bro. I'm not gonna lie, it was totally avoidable. And I guess that kind of just reminds you that it's like you always gotta like keep your head on swivel almost, you know, with trading. You know, that's the takeaway that I'm gonna get from, you know, never get too comfortable to the point where you let yourself take trades just because you think you know what the direction is going. You know, today, you know, it was the start of a new week. We had that huge move down for whatever reason. I haven't been paying too much attention as to why that would happen, but it happened, and I did a pretty good job of expecting pretty crazy swings. So I went ahead and decreased my position sizing, increased my TP and my stop loss, but you know, it doesn't really matter much if we're not taking the right setup, you know what I mean? If we're not being patient enough to wait for that setup to come to us and we're actually chasing the setup. So these are like just basic things that, you know, I feel like we've done a pretty good job at, you know, waiting for the setup to come to us, not chasing the setup for a while, but it just kind of goes to show that, like, you know, never get too comfortable, you know. Had a pretty solid August, considering the fact that I didn't barely trade for the first half of it because I was on vacation, and I feel like I did a really good job of coming off of like little losing weeks here and there, you know. So I guess I came in this month with a little bit overconfident, you know, and I figured, you know, I thought I had the direction right. I didn't really wait. Like I said, I chased the setup. I didn't wait for the setup to come to me. I definitely chased that setup. And it's just like I said, it goes to show, man, just never get too comfortable, you know what I mean? Make sure that you have that list of things that you want to see happen before you take a trade, and make sure that every box is checked off before you enter that trade. And yeah, you know, the other thing I was saying is like the start of the weeks, bro, I've just been doing really bad at the start, really good at the end. So maybe what I'll do is I'll make sure that coming into next week, we're like extra patient, you know what I mean? I find a lot of success in trading the opening, not the exact opening, like the first 30 minutes I'm usually in a trade.
by then, you know. Obviously this week is going to be different because we have 7 a.m. news every single day except for on Friday, so we're going to have to wait for that to play out every single day. But, you know, I've noticed a pattern, you know what I mean, looking back at all the data that I have, that at the start of the weeks, I usually am just wrong, whether it be getting stopped out and then price continuing to move, or whether I just have the wrong direction. So I think that it's going to be a good idea to wait for that sort of like, what's it called? Wait for the markets to give a clear direction for the start of the week, you know what I mean? So maybe don't try and get in on the first 30 minutes next week, you know. Now if we see a clean setup, you know, and there's no news, whatever it is, you know, there's no reason for me not to take it, just because it's like a Monday, you know what I mean? But from what I've seen is that I should make sure that I have a clear direction before entering a trade on the start of the week, because like I said, man, we've just been getting kind of clapped literally like all last month. Every single Monday / Tuesday, whenever I start the week, I've just gone clapped. So yeah, those are two pretty big takeaways, you know. Don't get too confident, and let's wait for the market to give us a clear direction, you know. We can have like a direction, but like wait for it to be like really clear, like without a doubt, you know. Well, I mean, there's always going to be a doubt, but you know, make sure the 4-hour time frame is looking very bullish or bearish, whatever it is. Make sure the higher time frame really aligns with, or the lower time frame entry aligns with that. And yeah, you know, there's not much else for me to say. You know, like I said, it's disappointing, you know, but shit happens. Don't get too comfortable. That's what we're gonna keep in mind. Don't get too comfortable to the point where we just start forgetting about our strategy. You know, lucky for me, like I said, that that lockout feature, it's definitely saved my account multiple times. You know, I did go back in on the combine, re-entered the trade, got stopped at break even, luckily. But you know, you never know. If it was on an Express account, you know, I might have held that because I really wanted to make the money back, and then it could have been a bigger losing day. So, you know, man, all that being said, no point in dragging out this video too much longer. Some lessons to be made, some pretty big mistakes today, and yeah, hopefully we can keep on the track, keep moving on the right track that we were doing last month. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next video. Peace out.